Let's introduce you a little bit there. HL, tell us more. We've spoken several times now, but let the community know who you are, where they can find you, and maybe just quickly also just remind us of how you got into Splinterlands.
Okay, basically, I'm a small Splinterlands YouTuber trying to make some content on the battle strategies and how to improve quickly. I also show you my monthly earnings and how to earn the most in the game. Maybe if you're renting or if you're buying cards, I'm trying both. And also now I'm new to botting and I'm trying to see how to efficiently run some bots on
Cool.
my second account.
Cool. Let's say hi to the audience, and then there's so many things to talk about. Like you mentioned botting, there's ECR changes. We could talk about whether we think that's going to impact the bot farm issue, and that also I just briefly yesterday talked with Jim, and we were talking about like, when players with decks use bots to unleash the power of those decks. It's, when you've got one account, I think no one's got a problem. When you get 10 accounts, I think people still don't have a problem. But where's the line in the sand where suddenly you're a bot farm? And I think there's a fun conversation to be had there. But first, let's say hi to the audience. Keck, I love it. I love the name, first of all. And second of all, just saying the shout out. HL, good to see you. Thanks. Glad that you did grab our attention there, dude. Bobby, thanks for coming. I'm a member of the public and I'm here. Love it. Bobby's always here. $8 last I checked. My Marler's 20. Oh, you know what though? Like some of the cards, man, if we look back at some of the highest prices, and I think this might be tracked either on Summoner Lab or maybe you can even see it on Splinter cards, some of the history of pricing on some of the cards, but I think some cards have been like as much as $15 and now are in the pennies range. And so, 8 from 21 to 8 is not, or hey, what about, I remember $60 Oceanus and now I think we're around $2. Monsieur Caruso, good to see you. Hola. Like the video because Rick has a great stash. Love that comment, dude. Ahmed says, random question. Does Soulbound cards and Gladiators give you points for daily chests and season chests, or are they considered ghost cards? Let's talk about this before we go any further, because this is a quick answer, but there's more to talk about around Soulbounds. So do you guys know the answer to this? Do we get reward points for these cards?
You get, you can also talk. I just didn't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, basically the cards are counted as normal cards. So you're not getting, if you have a gold card, you get the additional 10%. If you have a normal card on level, then you're getting basically it on the level. Mm-hmm. So just counting as normal cards.
Mm-hmm. And actually, Gladiators too, I think, is that the same? Is this story the same there? Because now we can play Gladiators in ranked battles.
Yep. Yeah, they don't have ghost card versions, so you'll never have the ghost card penalty for it, but they're treated exactly as any other card in terms of the rewards that you're earning off of them.
As long as you have the appropriate level for the level you're playing at, or not even the appropriate level, it's like the level before. So you're playing in gold, you got a silver version, then you're not going to get penalized for running that card. But if you are playing low level cards, we talked about this before going live, Rick, and let's get into this a bit, like Soulbound cards. And one of the things I've been thinking about is like, how quickly are these things going to fill up? I have heard that we have concerns that they're going to fill up quickly, and people will be, you'll in a few months' time, we'll all have maxed Soulbound decks. That's a topic, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. But then another topic is that even a bad thing if it is? Because do you truly only want one copy of these Soulbound cards, or would you be happy to have multiples? And then also, the penalty associated, if you're playing at Diamond or Champion or even Gold, there's a lot of penalties associated with playing these cards right now. And so I feel as though we haven't really even seen these cards in a real substantial way because many people haven't upgraded them fully or to that level, so that they aren't playing them because they don't want the penalties. So maybe, Rick, I'll throw to you first, and I don't know which angle you want to go there, but let's talk in some level about these Soulbound cards.
I feel like my pushback against the Soulbound cards currently is that all of the arguments that are made in favor of it, like people are excited to be opening their chests because they're getting new cards, and they weren't before because they already bought the cards. Well, that's on the players who can just outright buy the cards. Like for me, I've always been excited pulling cards in my chest. I'm less excited now that they're Soulbound because it's like, before I could, get a copy of a legendary and then I could go buy a couple more copies and then, get it up to that level. But now I'm sitting on stuff that I really can't use without heavy penalties. And I mean, sometimes those penalties are worth it. Like I have had a match in High Gold where I ran a level 2 Lob Lowland with Quora and Runemancer Flore, and it was opportunity rule set. So I put the Fungus Flinger in between them, and I managed to get the Martyr onto both Quora and Runemancer Flore, and that was a very fun battle. I took heavy penalties on my rewards, but it was still a win, and so you're still earning rewards, and that's, I feel, is an aspect of that, rewards penalties that isn't touched on very much. Like sometimes it's worth paying the penalty to secure the win, because if you don't win, then your penalty is 100%. You're not earning anything.
Yeah.
So like that aspect of things, I don't mind as much, and I do still occasionally play with the lower level stuff. And I mean, I don't have max deck anyways. Like I was mentioning before we started live, like I've got all the Holozor's wild cards, but I pretty much I have nothing in Modern. I've got a couple of max level Chaos Legion legendaries that he had extra copies of that he delegated to me as well. But like I don't pretty much own nothing out of Rift Watchers. And this is all from, back in November when SPS hit 4 cents and I sold my entire collection to put all of it into SPS, and I basically quadrupled my stake. So like that is a choice that I made. That's why I pretty much don't have any cards right now. And what I do have, I'm mostly renting out. But we've like kind of turned a corner to where now, and especially like I've got another account that I just started playing again, got a nifty deck and like fighting up through bronze. And even though they've made these changes to novice, to where now you don't lose rank in novice, and once you get out of novice, you can't fall back into it. But that pushed all of those bots that were in novice, now they're in bronze, and it's making bronze even more difficult to get through. And it's like I got that nifty deck, and literally last night I played 8 games on it. I won 1, I lost 3. I won 1, I lost 3. And it's just so frustrating. And again, this is like, I've been here for a year and a half. I know this game pretty well. I know these cards. But I'm fighting against bots that have cards that not only do I not have, but I cannot get. And that is the biggest problem I have with the Soulbound cards. It's not having access to these tools. And then it's right now, the gulf is not that big, but it's going to get larger over time. Someone who is just picking up the game in 6 months is going to be behind the 8 ball as far as trying to get anywhere to even be able to earn any kind of rewards, because they don't have these cards and they cannot get them.
I have some thoughts there, but I almost want to just give some space for H49 to get in there and let your, I don't know, you can respond to what Rick's talking about, or you can talk on some component of Soulbound's here. Like, what are you thinking on these new cards? Are yours maxing out? Are you worried about these penalties? Are you worried about like the 6 months where we're going to be for new people to get in, fighting against people who have full Soulbound decks by that point? What do you think?
Basically, I think Soulbound cards are one of the best things that could happen to Splinterlands. Because up there, it's pretty rough. I'm playing in Champion and in High Diamond most of the time of the season. And you really see the difference in having a card or not having a card. And now it forces all the bots up there, because I know a lot of the leaderboard players are using bots like Archmage or Xbot or even the legendary Dragon bot. And it seems now they have to use it and not can only buy their way to the win. So now you have, if you're active, you have the advantage over other players. That's what I think makes a big difference.
It's interesting because I feel like you guys you're looking at the same thing and then just seeing it in a different angle. Like what the idea of like what you just said, HL. You said if you're active, you're going to get these cards, and if you get these cards, you're going to have that advantage, and you're gonna have some more success because of that. And so, from your perspective, you know you're going to be active, and you know you're going to receive those. At least there's some RNG in there. You don't know which cards you're going to get, but you're just trusting through your daily activity you're going to receive those. And you're willing to put your own sort of commitment of activity and the expected results against everyone else, and you're like, you know what, I'm confident I'm going to get the cards like in time, and I'm going to succeed with them. And then Rick, I'm hearing from you, it's not necessarily about you and how you're not going to get the cards, but you are thinking about like in 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, there's going to be a new player that signs up, and they aren't going to have the opportunity in this window, in this moment, because it's gone for the 3, 4, 5, 6 months of accumulating those cards. And then what does that do to the new player experience? So I can see both of these arguments as having value. I personally, I like that they're soulbound. I think there's rooms for improvement in how it was executed and how it's being executed. But I like that they're soulbound because I actually like that there's this daily longing. There's this every season ending. I'm really eager to see that I get these summoners sorted out. And so far, I haven't been very lucky in getting my summoners. I'm only level 2, level 1, level 3 over here, which is cool. And level 2. But I haven't been particularly lucky in these summoners, and therefore I'm not going to be using any of them really. Even though it was really cool to hear your story, Rick, about how you use Loblaw. And I guess, so the thing I'm trying to point out is that there's this excitement I'm feeling about every chest could offer me a card that I can't find anywhere else. I can't go buy it. I can't go rent it. And that rarity, that scarcity, makes each chest more exciting to me. But I do see that it's not optimized. Like, I think to me, it strikes me that we still haven't really talked about, like, are they going to fill up in 6 months? Like, in 6 months, am I going to have a max deck of this? Is that a problem? Is that a good thing? Like, because I actually personally want many, many copies of each of these cards, but maybe some players would say, oh, see, it's annoying because I'm going to get these all maxed out, and then I'm just going to get more of these same cards that I don't even want, and I can't do anything with them. Maybe that's a point of criticism. I don't know. HL, what do you think about that?
Personally, I think those cards, if they stay for 2 years, this will be way too long. I now calculated it. I got about 648 copies for 1 month playing it. I even have some legendaries at level 3 right now.
Okay.
I have one legendary level 3, and I think if they stay this long, first up, the players are gonna get bored because always getting the same card, even if you have like 10 copies extra of the legendary, why do you still want it? You have a maxed out copy. You want some new stuff.
Rick?
And you still can afterwards, you are able, if they go out of circulation, you can still sell them to everybody who needs them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically getting free money out of a game. And if you stay long enough, you can even evaluate and sell those cards in the future.
Mm-hmm. So, but you're saying you can sell them in the future, but you're kind of saying 2 years is too long, but you're okay with having more than one copy also, is what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Yeah.
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 And Rick, what do you think about this stuff?
I do agree with that. Like, I feel like, and I know this is something that we talked about even before Soulbound happened, like 43 cards was too many to drop all at once. This should have been kind of released over time to allow you to build up cards and whatnot. But also I see Aaron Kennedy in the chat saying new players will need to invest in other cards to enable them to get the Soulbound cards anyways. The problem with that logic is the bots already have all of those other cards too. Mm-hmm. So literally for the new player coming in, they're going to be facing against bots that have all of the cards that they can buy and a bunch of cards that they cannot. And it's like HL was just saying, especially up in Champion, like, but also true in Bronze and Novice. Like, if you're going against somebody who literally has options that you do not, that significantly hampers your ability to win, especially when you're talking about these bots that have the perfect play algorithm.
Yeah, that makes me want to talk about, like you say, perfect play algorithm, and I think to myself, the fact that, I mean, I have a really substantial deck, but I don't win every game. I have like all the options, and you might say, well, you just get good, and there's some truth to that. Like I'm not an expert. I'm not like a premier player at this game, and even though I have a wealth of assets, I don't necessarily win when maybe I ought to. But I think interestingly, there's still I feel as though there's a strong voice saying that bots are really, really exceptional, and we've seen some evidence of them doing really well with certain decks. And I've heard Xbots really good, and I've even Archmage apparently, like under certain conditions, was able to fight in champ. And with my deck, Archmage was never capable of getting into, let alone staying in champ. And so, I guess my conversation is like, do you guys really feel that bots are they more powerful than people? Or is their creativity, especially now that we have, for instance, 3 rule sets, we have this new introduction of cards, and it feels like every time there's a new change of that nature, there's a new rethinking that the bot has to do, which is like a data-based thinking that takes time to accumulate, whereas you as a person have creativity and imagination that doesn't necessarily need months of research to really start doing fun and creative things. Rick, what do you think about that?
I think that both sides of what you just said are correct. Like at the higher levels, there is that aspect of, the players are, capable of reacting to the changes that are made quicker than the bots. However, at the lower levels, there isn't that third rule set. In fact, in Novice, there's no rule set. In Bronze, there is no rule 70% of the time. So, like, you're literally your only differential is the mana cap, because also 90% of the time you have every splinter available. So at the lower levels, the bots, they don't have any of those changes to worry about, and they do have the perfect lineups for every situation, because it's so much simpler. And that's a big part of the reason I've been saying that, the game doesn't really start until silver. That's where it actually gets to be fun. That's where the depth of strategy actually comes into it. But for a new player trying to get there is, you're fighting uphill with a bulldozer bearing down on you. And it's just ridiculously difficult for a new player coming in to try and learn in that environment. And that is the problem that I have.
Yeah, I see some, there's a strong point. Like, I mean, I have a hard time disagreeing with that. But HL, what do you think on this topic?
Yeah, I also thought about that, but I then suddenly realized all of the things you said are pretty good players, because I made a tutorial on every rule set. So I tried it. I made a new account. I bought only a water team level 2 with an Oceanus extra, and also some dragon cards. And I was able to get bronze within 1 day, only memorizing a short amount of rule sets, like for every rule set one thing. And then I ran through the bots, because I knew how to beat the bots, and every bot was like losing against me, and it was in silver and not even 25% ECR down.
This strikes me as an important point too. Like, I feel I sometimes hear a lot of like the bots are so powerful, and then I also hear from a wide range of audience members, you just need to know how to beat the bots, and I take advantage of them all the time. That's what people say, and so, I think it's probably both and. Like, I think some people don't recognize the exploit opportunity with the bots and how they often play. And if you're brand new, you're not really gonna get. It's like you need a certain degree of sophistication within understanding the battle mechanic to recognize how you're being beaten. And if you then see how you're being beaten, how can I counter it? And if you have that sort of vision, like I think you guys both do, you can individually respond to the bots. But some new players maybe can't, and that's the new player conversation. Like, how are we appealing to? Because I do agree, when we get into bronze and we say like it's all bots, and the rule sets are often not that complicated. I don't know how to fix those things for the new player experience, but maybe. Oh, have we started to see a removal of bots since the Soulbound reward cards? Because from the data analysis that I saw, like, let's see, explore. Do you guys have any? Let's see. I want to find the number of plays per day has really dropped. The number of counts playing dashboard.
It dropped for the first few days because the day before the change, they a lot of the bot farms ran ECR all the way down to maximize their sellable reward cards. So for the first few days, there was a significant drop off, but after 4 days, it very much just came back. And I mean, in gold, there was a series live on stream a couple of days ago where in 8 battles, I played the same bot farm 6 times.
Is that right? And
so I went back and I looked through the entire active history that I had at that point. In those 20 matches, there were 9 battles against that same bot farm. Like, they have not left. They haven't gone anywhere, because now they're actually having more of an advantage over people because they have cards that other people can't get. And it's
but isn't that just RNG? Like, if 9 out of 20 battles you're facing against bots, and if those 9 out of 20 have been lucky enough to get certain cards that you can't, that's just RNG. Like, you sometimes, and you might have been the lucky one who, like, I've seen people show 3 gold foil legendaries in a single chest. I mean, that could have been you, or it could have been them. I feel like somebody wins the lottery every day is my point. You know what I mean? Like, and tomorrow it could be me, especially since, like, with this game, to HL's point earlier, with this game, every day you earn, with your intentionality and your effort, you're gonna predictably receive X amount of chests, whether it's 5 or 10 or 20, and then at the season, 20, 30, 50, maybe 80, depending on how and where you play, and so, your point is, like, they have those cards I can't get. Yes. But you can and will get maybe tomorrow, or maybe even today. And so you can't predict it. And you also can't tell me that those bots that have had success over the last, let's say, 2-3 weeks since we've had these things, you can't say with great deal of confidence that any one of those accounts that in particular that you faced, while they might have received 1 or 2 or several of the really great Soulbound cards, that they're then going to receive those cards again over the next week or 2 or 3, meaning that they're able to level them up again and again. Because, you get it once, you get 10 copies of it, 15 copies of it. But like we said before we went live, Rick and I were talking, and neither of us has a Marks Rat, like not one copy of it. And so it's just a bit luck and unluck, and maybe it's bad that there's that component of luck, but I kind of like that. But then we have to remember too, it is fun to get this asset in a loot chest that you can't receive anywhere else. That's a neat thing about the loot chest. It creates a certain degree of excitement toward each loot chest.
I mean, yeah, I had the same feeling about pulling cards when they weren't soulbound that I do now. Like, it's no less fun pulling a card just because you could have bought it, when that also, on the flip side, allows you to maximize what that card is actually worth to you. So I feel like overall, like, I love the cards for the most part. There's a couple of the Soulbound cards I'm not too thrilled with. I love the cards themselves. And I'm not even really super insanely against the idea of, the Soulbound cards. I feel like the implementation definitely could have been handled a lot better, and that there are a lot of ways that it could have been improved. But overall, like, I'm not necessarily against what we've got. I just feel like it is going to hurt specifically the new player experience.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm coming. I'm like,
Yeah.
I understand, like Alex is saying, bots aren't going anywhere. And in regards to Nifty, actually, I am on Splinterlands TV Saturday morning, and I will have Nifty on with me, Alex. So feel free to join me on that stream, and we'll be talking with them. I do have some more content that I'm working on regarding Nifty, and like I said, one of my decks I just spooled back up. I haven't been playing it for a while, but I got a Nifty deck on there, and I'm playing through bronze with it. So like, I understand that bots are not going anywhere. There's no way we can deal with them, but giving them a further advantage over new players, because yeah, you're right, HL49, you can learn how to beat the bots, but that is not learning how to play the game. That is learning how to specifically beat the bots. And so what we're asking new players to do, in effect, is come into the game, learn how to beat the bots, and then learn how to play the game, and all the while playing against players and bots that not only have cards that they don't have, but they have cards that they cannot have. And that is the huge difference to me there, is that, like, of course, in any collectible card game, you're always going to face off against an opponent who has something that you don't, because they have a bigger wallet and a bigger collection, and they have been able to buy everything.
Yeah.
That is just a fact of the game. But with Soulbound cards, the fact that you can't even spend to get on that same field, that is the problem that I have.
I feel like that's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's two ways of looking at it, and I hear you, and I'm not saying it's perfect. I hope my words aren't coming across to the audience or to you two, that like this system is perfect, and I'm super okay with some of the problems that we've already acknowledged. Like, I do see a new player maybe hurdle or challenge, and you said it again, like the idea of like you walk in the door and you in 3 months from now, and somebody's already had 3 months to accumulate these. That's a problem. But then, you know, to me, that's in the same conversation as you walk into a game like Magic the Gathering or any sort of where money can buy you in. You're going to have this problem of there are others who can just mop the floor with me, and I'm a little fish in a big pond. And to me, whether it's money that got you there, or whether it's time and attention and years of commitment, because that's what we're doing right now, guys. You're investing your time and attention daily within Splinterlands to have an opportunity to access these scarce resources that will allow you to win. And yeah, that's true. The old reward cards that were liquid had that same kind of coolness. And I do want to, the fact that the old reward cards were liquid was a benefit that was worth being excited about that we don't currently have with these. So again, this is not a perfect thing versus like it used to be terrible, now it's awesome. It's more like I see really cool nuance to how it is, and I also see challenges with how it's being implemented. Let's go to the chat though. It's been a while and these guys are blowing it up in here. And I saw Bobby threw down a new membership. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks, man. And let's see what else is going on. Aaron, I think that I think that's the benefit of Soulbound, is that they are so hard to get that they make it truly competitive and will give some edge to and encourage a grind. That's how I look at it. Bobby says, back in the day, Milo and the horse with Void got me out of bronze. It's interesting how like certain plays really. That was one of them, and somebody else earlier mentioned Windiku. Windiku used to be like a free pass out of bronze, and that happens too, where it's like one card, or Oceanus is really key. Or I don't know if we did this talk live, but Rick was telling me he likes to, in low mana matches with the blue team, he likes to roll the Rick, what's that legendary water that you rent? It's
Phantom
like
of the Abyss.
Yeah, and then you'll put the Fiend and the Chicken, and the Abyss is enough, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
More often than not.
Yeah. Game is fun even if no rewards. That's the attitude, dude. That's if you believe this, if the people who are listening believe this sentiment from Crypto Ace, then I think you'll be here in 3 or 4 years to come, and that's where over a long period, that long time horizon, you can accumulate massive rewards that are trivial in nature at first, but accumulate value with the limiting supply and the growing audience.
And yeah, I mean, the game is fun even if you get no rewards, but if you're a new player coming in and you are just losing to cards that you cannot get access to, that's a lot less of a situation where it's fun even without rewards. Because I mean, it's not the rewards that make it fun, but the winning is definitely a big part of it. Like if you are just getting hammered, you're not going to have fun, and you're not going to stick around long enough to learn the game well enough to learn to beat the bots, and then learn how to beat people, and then learn to tell the difference between the two, and then start earning rewards. Like I understand that if you're only here for the rewards, then that's the problem, and those are the people that we don't need here. But how are you going to learn to love the gameplay if you never even have a chance to experience the actual gameplay?
Yeah, I think we need to, like, there's a certain audience that are going to say what you said and they're going to leave. And then there's an audience that are going to say, wow, I'm getting smacked, and I'm just going to buy what I'm able, and I'm going to win when I'm able, and I'm going to enjoy that. Because I think, I currently, there are cards you don't have, and yet you get smacked by people who roll with that. And so it's like, it's never the case that you're going to have all the solutions, even if you could quote unquote, access these soulbounds. That's kind of the bottom line, man. It's like everybody's going to have a different deck and a different journey and you're going to be a gold and I'm going to be a diamond. But hopefully you can find joy in it. And to your point, to give credit where credit's due, like if you're not having fun, you're right, they're going to leave. And so we want to maximize the opportunity for them to have fun. I think there's other let's maybe shift that conversation into there's other ways that we could move the needle for the new player experience. And I think, one that comes to my mind, and I'd love to hear if anything comes to you, if you guys have thoughts on this, and maybe HL will throw with you first, but the one that comes to my mind is, just sorting out the mobile app. It seems to me that would be a massive move toward reaching a whole new community. And I think there's tons of complications in that. Like we can't really have crypto buying and selling on the app because the Google won't allow that. And then if you don't get onto Google or to Apple Store, then you're not really reaching anybody. But if we can get the second layer solutions in place that allow, for instance, SPS chain to facilitate all monetary transactions, buying, selling DEC, buying, selling SPS, then maybe it becomes a scenario where the game itself has none of that. And that's a second layer thing. The game, and then I think maybe we start to have we could have a really functional mobile app. That's one suggestion. But I think I think we're kind of dancing around this issue of the new player experience. So guys, talk to me about some solutions. Like, what are some things that you're thinking would really move the needle? If you've thought about this at all, or even on that one topic I just raised.
Yeah, personally, I think new players have it hard in every game, so it's not like you're having it easy down there. There's also a lot of the games where we have it hard down there. If we would get a mobile app that finally works, I would be so happy about that, because I love to play on my phone. When I'm away, I don't need to buy it, or I don't need to buy crypto here. You can still maybe implement a way to buy credits and then use it to buy certain cards or maybe card packs or rent something. But I actually think, and most of the time, I haven't realized that I'm playing bots down there in bronze until I pick him better. So I don't even know if it's a real player or not.
So I feel like I'm hearing you say, kind of it is what it is. It might be tough, but hopefully you like the game mechanic enough and then the mobile experience would be amazing, is what I'm hearing. Is that fair?
Yeah. Something around the lines, yeah.
Yep. And Rick, what do you think?
I do agree that mobile would be a huge step in the right direction. And there is definitely a lot that can be done for new player experience. I like the fact that, it actually showed up on the roadmap for the first time this year. I like the fact that we've actually started to see some progress in that direction. Aaron Kennedy was saying that the team has introduced bots at bronze to help players learn. That is inaccurate. They put bots in Novice because they also kicked all of the bot farms out of Novice by not allowing you to drop back into Novice. So there are some some strides that have been made, and I'm appreciative of those strides. And I've been on the new player experience for a long time, saying in order for this game to succeed, we need to continue bringing in new players, and that is true of any game, especially a game with as vibrant of an economy as this one.
Yes.
New blood is absolutely essential to keep things going. And so that's why, even though I've been here for a year and a half, I am constantly thinking about and talking about that new player experience. And I'm not saying that I have the answer either, but it's absolutely kind of with any of these changes, any of these proposals, the first thing I think about is new players. The second thing I think about is gameplay. And that's where I'm different from a lot of these content creators and whatnot who typically are thinking about higher level gameplay or economy first. Like I've never been in Champion. I've never been in High Diamond. But I'm always thinking about the newer players and the ones that don't have a lot of money to put in. Like obviously the economy is important, and all of these things, like I'm not saying that those are not valuable viewpoints in the least. I'm just saying, number one, they're already very well covered, and number two, I don't have the money, I don't have the market experience to live in that world necessarily. So my opinions on it, while they're not invalid, they are less informed. So I'm not trying to speak out of ignorance. I'm trying to play to my strengths. And what I know well is lower level, mid-level gameplay. And I am constantly like playing back through the early levels to make sure that I stay in touch with that new player experience, because I've seen too many games die because they've got a vibrant community and great gameplay. But if you don't have new people coming in and playing it, then that game is not going to last.
I think that's, it makes me want to be a devil's advocate and raise a conversation. So we need to have new players. We need to have fresh players coming in with, fresh capital, being interested in investing in Splinterlands. I think that's true. But then I think people will hear that and say, like, Ponzi scheme. Like you're admitting it. Like what you're admitting is we need more people to come empty their pockets. And then we as players who have been here for a while can benefit. And I think the funny thing is that I would, in some sense, agree to that, but I would draw, like, not the Ponzi scheme analogy, but the suggestion. I would go part way and say, yeah, we do need new players to come and invest. That's part of what a game that is releasing new assets that are limited in number is going to require in order for that the economy to, let's say, thrive, for the sales to happen, for the value appreciation to occur. And so some people will point at that and be like, see, this is just stupid. Like it's just early arrivers are going to be rich whales and I can't do anything about it. And I have really deep thoughts on this. And just very quickly, one of them, but I want to throw to you, HL, and see what you think about this.
Personally, I think we need way more game modes to have a really good experience to attract really new players. We need something that players can get hooked on, that players can play for multiple hours without even thinking about earning something. We need to think about this game like as a normal game and not only like an investment.
Yeah.
Like, how fun would it be? I don't even care what I win, but just make some extra tournaments where I don't care, let's get me a title or let's get a skin, let's play 11 battles. And if I win all of those 11 before losing 3 or something, I get a new skin for a card or get a new...
Yeah.
I don't know. Why don't we implement such things like that? We don't even need to implement new things that cost anything. We can just make things for free that are only acquired by skill.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Yeah, and I think that makes me think about Rick. What do you think about have we talked about season passes, Rick? And what are your thoughts on that? Because HL is talking about like, give me some skins, give me things to keep it fresh, get me excited about playing today. What do you think about season passes? Have we talked about that before?
Yeah, I was actually live with you when you when you covered the memo from Weirdbeard. That was the first time that I was live with you, and yeah, we had a great conversation around that. I think that the season pass is awesome, and I feel like Soulbound reward cards would have been much better implemented there as opposed to like as the actual rewards that you are earning from your chests. Like I said, I never had a problem with the idea of the Soulbound cards. It was just the implementation that I feel could have been done better. That is one of those ways that it absolutely could have been done better. But I like the season pass idea. I like where they're headed with it. I like the idea as well of like what HL's talking about with the try and get X number of wins before X number of losses and whatnot. And yes, all of that stuff, different gameplay options. I agree with. That's exactly the kind of stuff that we need, because that's what is going to draw people here to play the game and not invest in it. And that's like you were mentioning the whole Ponzi scheme kind of attitude and kind of as an argument as a dismissal.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even talking about the economy side. I'm talking about literally gameplay. If we don't have new people coming in to play the game,
Mm-hmm.
then the game dies.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking about investment, and the investment will come from the players, of course. But I'm talking about there is no economy if there is no game.
Yeah.
And the game dies without new players.
Mm-hmm.
New investors cannot keep the game alive. New investors can only keep the economy alive, but the game needs to thrive in order for there to be an economy
mm-hmm.
worth investing in, period. That's what I'm saying, because we've got
mm-hmm.
players that are retiring. We've got players that are, like passing on. So we're constantly losing players, and hopefully, that's not happening to too many people, but, there, with every change that is made, we do lose some players, and with every day that goes by, people die.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not getting new people in, then the player base is shrinking. And that is where I'm coming from on we have to be
mm-hmm.
bringing more people in, or the game dies, because every day we are losing people no matter what, just as a function of time.
Yeah, that's true. And I do think this is, oh man, I'm loath to bring up anything like positive from a bot perspective, because the way people receive, I feel people hear half of what I say and then are 100% critical. But like, here's the thing, guys, we want to get rid of bot farms. I get it. They have lots of problems and complications. They take advantage, they exploit, they extract value, and they give nothing. But one thing that they give, which is actually really critical, is matches, like matchmaking. Yeah. Like, Rick talked about 9 out of 20 matches were against a bot farm. And is that good? Is that optimal? It's not optimal. It would be optimal to have humans fighting humans and having such a thriving player base that it was a rarity to run into a bot. That would be awesome. But it's not the reality right now. And I want you to recognize, because many of you won't. Steve's in the audience. Shout out to Steve. He's old enough to remember when we had like 1,000 players in this game. Like, this game, it took 5 minutes to find a match. You're just sitting there and you're like, did my computer freeze? And you like refresh the window and no, it's still looking for a match. And then another 2.5 to build your team. Like, and that was typical. That's not like a rare, hey, this is a bad day. That was typical. That's not a good player experience. And we need to reconcile that. And that doesn't mean bots are amazing. Let's incentivize bot farms. It means there's nuance to these complex situations where, of course, we want to make a scenario in an economy and a game where it's enjoyable for more human players to rush in, where bots can't exploit and extract for nothing at all. But we just have to reconcile that these complicated problems have nuanced solutions. And I saw Keck threw a good comment out there. He goes, guys, like the video, help the reach. Appreciate you, Keck. And yes, please, guys. Where are we at? Where are we at on the thumbs up? We got 15 likes. We got 23 concurrent viewers. If you haven't, throw a thumbs up. Do it for us, please. And if you want, we got some great visitors. We got some great conversation, and I hope you're enjoying it. We'll be doing it again. My intention now, moving forward, since I'm no longer on Splinterlands TV, is to be doing one live public a week and one live for the members only. So we do 2 a week, but members only on Thursdays, on Wednesdays, and public on Thursdays. So if you're interested in more of this sort of content, Splinterlands content, live Splinterlands content, where you could be part of the conversation, consider supporting the channel. Bobby, thanks again for re-upping, buddy.
Yeah, I'm of that same unpopular opinion. That's something that you and I have also talked about fairly at length, and I've definitely gone on a number of times about is, yeah, we don't have the player base right now to support 12 leagues of play without bots.
Yeah.
If all of the bots were gone overnight,
Yeah.
the game would be dead within a week because there are not enough people to get matches in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
So I'm not in favor of bot farms. I'm not anti-bot. I am anti-bot farm, but I also, am realistic enough to realize that, right now the game could not survive without those bot farms. And unless we get in a significant influx of new players, that will continue to be the case.
Ign Hl04, you talked about earlier about, tinkering with bots for some of your cards. And we just said, they are providing matchmaking opportunities for us. And I said, and I agree, and I stand by the fact that I see no problem. I'm not against bots. I'm against bot farms. But what does that mean? Like, where's that line? Because as a guy with I've got 7 or 10 million power or something, I could run a bot farm. I don't know, maybe 100, maybe 10. I don't know. I'm not sure how many I could make, but I could make a lot of different accounts, and I could do that with just bots and just, quote unquote, extract value with giving nothing back. I would argue I'm giving matchmaking. I would argue I've given investment. I would argue, I'm giving coverage. So there's such nuance to this, but talk to me, Hl04, about what that looks like, because I think most people would say they aren't against bots. Like we've got Splex and we've got Archmage and we've got, Xbot and we've got whatever else. People aren't against that, but they are against bot farms. Where does that line in the sand look like for you? And what are your thoughts on that?
Personally, I also don't have anything against bots, and two things. I wouldn't have a problem with you if you have one account with 10 million power, if you rent it out and let it play by a bot because you don't have the time, or maybe you are not smart enough to get to the high levels, or maybe you're just trying it, or I don't know. I don't care about your reasons. But if you have like all starter cards or only one BCX of every card and then have hundreds of accounts or something like that, that's something really only extracting the value for the game. And the other thing is playing the game as a normal under headlines player, you know what I mean? It's a difference between if you have also right now, I looked at it, I have about 500,000 power normally. If I wouldn't even think about selling all of my cards to get 10 or 20 or 51 BCX accounts that play me in gold and get me $3 per account or something like that, I wouldn't even think about that. I think it's way more fun that way to achieve the higher levels.
Yeah, I think there's something about, you invest money and you own these assets, or at least I invested money, and many of the people who are going to watch this video have invested X amount of dollars into Splinterlands related assets. And then at times in your life, whether, you started when you were 30 and, maybe you get in the last year and a half, 2 years, you have a kid and life's a bit different. And I can't see any argument that makes a lot of sense to me where we would ever get to a place where we'd say it's wrong for you to use Archmage for your main account. And then that feels like maybe it's a slippery slope, but I would carry that forward and say, if you've got 5 million power, if you've got 1 million power, if you've got 500,000 power, and you can divide that into 5 different accounts, I still can't see a problem there. I don't know where the line is. And last couple of days, I've been thinking about this because I feel like this is a topic that has complication and nuance. And I like these sorts of debates because I almost want to better understand my own thoughts around where that would be. But it's probably in that 100 range or something. But I don't know, Rick, what do you think about this?
I think that it's a strong point. I mean, there is, and I don't know where the line is,
Yeah.
but I agree with HL49. Like, if you're running 100 accounts that have one BCX of each card, then that is problematic because you really aren't adding anything to the ecosystem in terms of any kind of investment, whatnot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, it's like, where would we be without those accounts?
Mhm.
So, like, it really comes down to, you know, how things are managed, really, I guess, because and also where the player base is at.
Yep.
But the problem is that a lot of the focus of these bot farms is just on extracting that value,
Mhm.
and that is what's causing problems with the economy. But again, like, double-edged sword, without them, would we even have a game? Because we wouldn't have those matches. And so I understand that, you know, especially, you know, from the beginning, like when the player base was super small, like they have been kind of necessary in order to keep things going.
Yeah.
And we have lost a lot of our active player base with some of the more radical changes that have been made.
Mhm.
And, you know, with just the ravages of time.
Yep.
And because of the nature of the bear market, we have not been attracting nearly as many new players over the past little while.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's still, you know, it's absolutely a balancing act to try and figure where is the right kind of path to tread along with those.
Mhm. I see a comment from Bobby saying that if he doesn't get a match in 30 seconds, he hits cancel and tries again. That's how I feel too. I'm like, something's wrong. And then he goes, a couple accounts is fine, even up to 10, maybe at most 10, 20 or more, all botted to leech rewards, not to participate in the ecosystem, is bad. And I think I would be even more nuanced and say, like you two said, like, what does that a deck look like? If you've got, you know, 10 or 20 or 30 accounts and they're like 2 million power each, because some dudes could do that. That's a sort of, you're adding to a certain dimension of this game that really does need more players, to our points earlier with not enough players, but also you've invested in such a way at such a time, obviously, that you've built out a library of assets that looks different to me than some guy who has, you know, 5,000 CP on their deck. And then Steve jumped in, and great point. We haven't talked about this yet today. SPS staking is coming, and it'll stop the big farms. And so maybe all this kind of the thoughtfulness around, you know, the problems around it, maybe they get resolved with this one thing. Do you guys think that this is going to be a big silver bullet and that we are going to be just, this will end that problem or conversation? Or where do you land on SPS staking?
I don't think it's going to end it, but it is going to significantly make an impact, and it's something that we should have had long ago. I mean, we've got SPS requirements for tournament entry already. I understand that, you know, Aggie's saying that it needs to be done with the SPS validator nodes coming online and all of that, and I don't understand why, but if that's the case, then get it done.
Mhm.
Like, there are so many things we've been waiting on. I mean, this SPS staking requirements was promised at the beginning of the SPS airdrop, which was a year long and has been over for more than 6 months now. So why do we still not have it? Why are we still talking about this and not seeing it? Like, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And
this is
we
huge.
still don't even have a date for it.
This is huge. You're right. And I think I am with you in terms of this is so important. And I do see it as being a powerful movement toward the right direction with bot farms. And with not even that term bot farms, but even just with people who are really not recognizing the writing that's been on the wall since I think day one, which is, this is a Narnia reference, further up and further in. I don't know if anybody reads Chronicles of Narnia. It's like one of my favorite series. Further up and further in. That's like the Splinterlands mantra. Like, the whole thing is we want you to invest your time and attention. We want you to invest in the resources that we sell. That's the thing. Like, this is not a free to play. This is like you are committing time, attention, and value. And so the invitation is like more and more over years and years. And I think some people hate that. And I think, okay, it's just not the game for you. and that's okay. You know, there'll be something.
exactly.
There's something else out there for you. HL49, what do you think about this SPS staking? You know, is it going to solve things, or thoughts, concerns, anything on this one?
I think SPS staking is one of the most thought after things that we can have in a game. It's like one thing that can make or break the game. Because especially if to think about the new players, let's think about they have to get about 1000 SPS to even play in the bronze level.
Mm-hmm.
What would this guy think? Like, at first I need to invest about, I think it's $50 or 500. I think it's 50. Or how much is 1000 SPS?
3 cents
Or
per.
around
So that would that be $300 for 1,000? 3 cents
I
per.
actually don't know.
Let's see, 1,000 times 0.003. Yeah, $30. So 30 for the SPS plus 10 for the sold the book.
It's just $40, and then you're still getting the penalty cards. So you have to make a reasonable amount in the low leagues.
Yeah.
And you have to stack it up higher. Even you have to divide it between modern and wild, like as of the tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you told me right now, yeah, I need to have about 40k SPS to be able to play in champion,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would do with the game, or if I would still keep playing it, because currently I'm getting about 1k, or no, even more. I think about 2 to 3k SPS per month.
You're getting 2 to 3k per month.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I have about 16,000 SPS staked. And I'm not even done with Chaos Legion maxed out, and not even started with Roof Fortress yet. And still, I then need to also get 40,000 SPS. That's more than double what I have. I don't think I would start playing, because that would cost too much to be able to, because I have the skill. You don't need to, are not allowed to punish the good players then too. So there's a really thin edge between good and bad that's really, I think it's just difficult to handle how you would do it, how you would adjust them.
This is a great point. We have to remember, like we talked about new player experience, we have to recognize that SPS demand or requirement to really even get your foot in the door is a complication. And Rick, you mentioned about how you said, I'm not sure what the complications are, why it hasn't happened yet. It's been promised, and I'm with you. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. But I think one of the complications that I think we can understand is that what I talked about earlier, which I don't fully understand this stuff, but I think I'm right about what I'm about to say, which is this, that SPS, is it's like a cryptocurrency. And telling people you need to buy this cryptocurrency to play the game raises all kinds of backs and concerns from like regulators, which means that places like Google and Apple are not going to let this happen on their app. And so that's like a conversation around the mobile app conversation, but it's also it's also a concern from the, how do you get SPS right now? I did a video talking about this, like getting SPS or DEC right now is actually really complicated. You have to if you want SPS, you probably have to understand blockchain well enough that you know how to put money into crypto, and then you buy some token with your first exchange. You move it over to another exchange that has Hive. You move the Hive into Hive Engine. You buy SPS with it or something like that, paying fees all along the way. That's a complex process that is a barrier to even like, let's say, middle of the row crypto people, or Jim Morgan, who friend of my channel. I love the guy. Did a video with him yesterday, and he's been here for 2 years or something, covering Splinterlands himself and playing it all the time and investing in it. And he goes, like, I don't get any of that stuff. Like, I don't get blockchain. And so if that hurdle is in front of a guy like Jim, or even me, who I get it, but it's a nuisance, how is that gonna? That's a big wall for a brand new player to jump over. You need $30 worth of SPS. Well, how do I even do that? And so I think one of the barriers with making this staking happen is we need to fully, do that second layer solution where SPS trades can happen outside of the game. And I also think major listings on, for instance, like we've talked about with maybe Binance or Coinbase, like that's being possibly negotiated through proposal. But one last point before, Rick, I'm going to throw to you to any thoughts on anything I'm saying here. HL49, you talked about how it's going to be tricky for these guys to get 1,000 SPS for their account when they're brand new. I think for all those reasons, I agree that I just said, I agree. But remember, we're talking about implementing some sort of, you can stake on others. And then I think there's going to be, that'll be one solution to the problem you're raising. And another solution to the problem you're raising is the possibility of renting SPS, because I think that will be possible too. And these aren't barrier-free solutions. They have their own complexity that will need a smart player with blockchain experience to understand. But we can rent Hive power on the Hive blockchain. So I'm certain we're going to be able to rent SPS power once this staking is required. Rick, what do you think about any of this stuff?
I feel like, yeah, there's definitely some things that are in the way. I'm just, and by the, why don't we have it yet? I'm just simply referring to the fact that we do already have the infrastructure in place in the code for the actual staking requirements, because we've already got those requirements in place for tournaments. So I feel like there are aspects that still need to be answered. I understand, like, how do we make it easy for players to get SPS, and I understand where HL is coming from, that there is an issue of how much SPS is the right amount, because if it's 1,000 to be able to play in bronze, that is kind of prohibited. And I don't think that bronze should be that high. I don't think it would be that high. I could absolutely see like 1,000 being the minimum for silver, and maybe like 3,000 to 5,000 for gold, 10,000 for diamonds, something along those lines. I'm not saying that these are what it's going to be. I'm not even suggesting those, but like, I wouldn't be surprised to see something along those lines. And I'm not saying that it answers every single problem either. There is no 100% correct solution for any of these problems. It's all that kind of balancing act. But I do feel like the set of problems that comes along with SPS staking requirements is a better set of problems than the set of problems that we have now.
I think we all are, I think I'm hearing in all of us, like, some degree of recognition that this could be really powerful and helpful, but also, like, tell me the details. How exactly is this going to work? That's HL49 was saying, like, it could go wrong, and I fully see that, and I think we all are recognizing that. But it could be huge, because it could start to deal with these. Like, I can't picture bot farms with thousands of accounts buying 1,000 SPS per account. I just can't picture it. So that'd be great. And actually, Tails is here, and Tails goes, if Splinterlands can run bots in Novice that don't earn, they can do the same in other leagues. I was thinking the same thing. Like, they could run ghost card accounts that they give themselves access to. Do you know what I mean? Like, that are, like, it's just a ghost card, but it's level gold and level diamond and level champ, and they just run 100, 500 bots that are not collecting rewards at all, and they're just essentially creating matches. The only thing that comes to mind off the top of my head that might be a concern there, and maybe it's not, I don't know the technical stuff, but is that maybe a server problem? Like, you're running even more computations, I don't know. But that sounds like a pretty trivial consideration for maybe a possibly significant solution. And so I actually was thinking the same thing when I heard that about the Novice. And I like that idea. Guys, what do you think about that?
I'm glad that you actually hit on that comment, because I wanted to talk about it when I saw it come through, because of course I'm also watching the video live. And I saw when Tails popped in, and that was a great comment. And it absolutely makes a lot of sense. And yes, that should be something that is done. And that also helps to answer, the problem of, if we kick out the bot farms, then we lose the ability for quick matches, but then Splinterlands can spool up their own bots instead. And that kind of absolutely helps to kind of get rid of that requirement for them, as it were. So I mean, it's definitely something that is worth adding into the conversation, thinking about, and I'm sure that they can do. But also, in regards to what you said, like, yeah, we need more details from the team. And I love the transparency. I love the fact that we have a town hall. We get to hear directly from Aggie every single week. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are a lot of things where it's like there's just kind of promises that are made and then forgotten. And there's a lot of things that, we don't get details on. And speaking, like not getting details, one of the big things you just said was, about the listings on the exchanges and whatnot. I'm so glad that proposal failed, because I personally, there was and granted, I understand the whole NDA side of things, but there's still a lot more information that we could have gotten that was not included there. And then also, I don't want to be anywhere around Binance. I don't know if anybody is paying attention to it right now, but Binance is on fire. Binance is a sinking ship. And I absolutely do not want to be committing X number of thousands of dollars to paying to get SPS listed on an exchange that is going the way of FTX and is probably not going to last through the year. So I absolutely think that, am I in favor of listings? Yes. Do I want to be anywhere near Binance? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I've got some questions for Binance too. I mean, I was looking at their daily volume, and their daily volume is like 17 billion a day or something. It's like 10, 15 times bigger than Coinbase. And I'm like, wash trading much? Like, I think there's things going on there that are suspect. Let's say that. But HL49, what do you think about? See, I don't love the like cloak and daggers, the NDA, like how much money are you spending? Who's it going to? With buying our way into an exchange. But HL49, do you have any opinion on whether Splinterlands should be throwing money at trying to get in listings get SPS listed onto exchange? And because I think they're revisiting it, right? Even though it failed, I think they're not done proposing that. Is that true?
I don't know if it's reproposing or not, but I think one of the best things that could happen to the game is a listing on a big exchange, or also even getting the Hive exchange a little bit more easier accessible for all of us. Because now, currently, I have, as you said, Binance, I have to smile a little bit because I now just paid about $400 to get some SPS into the account because of staking. Because I'm using Binance as my main. I only use it to get some assets, my fiat currency to the Hive wallet, and then from my Hive wallet to Hive Engine, and then exchange it there and get it to Splinterlands. So it's basically a pretty complicated way of getting it there. So it 100% agreed to get one exchange where I could buy and sell it and easily get it to Splinterlands and out of Splinterlands. Like, it's way too hard to extract some value out of the game, I think, if you want to leave it. And if you want to go into it, although you have to admit you can buy everything with credits, and I actually wouldn't admire you to get to buy SPS in the game, because you pay about 5 or 6% if you want to buy it there, like from the game, and I'm not willing to do that. Why would I get 5% off? That's a whole damn lot.
I know, that's crazy. I totally agree with you. Check in on the likes, guys. I appreciate you hanging out. 29 concurrent viewers, 17 likes. Do us a favor, and if you appreciate the content, if you want more of this Splinterlands content, please hit that like button. And I saw a comment earlier from Bobby, goes, hit the like button because Rick's got the amazing stash. And I wanted to, like, Rick, I love the Batman, buddy. What's that? What is the fracture? Like, he looks like he's fractured. What's the art style there? What's going on?
Kind of like stained glass dish. I don't know. It's like, I love it. Yeah. It's just a Walmart special hoodie. But I love it. It's like a t-shirt material. So like, it's a lightweight hoodie, but at the same time, I still got my hood. And of course, Batman is the greatest of all superheroes. Bruce Wayne, Tony Stark, and Johnny Cochran. They need to do a team up in comics, officially canon, to prove once and for all that money is the best superpower. Yeah.
Well, plot armor is the best superpower, and he's got plenty of that. Batman's my favorite too. I actually love Batman. And I have this really cool t-shirt with Batman. It's like Grandpa Batman from it's Frank Miller's Batman. I forget. What's that?
Batman Beyond?
No, Frank Miller. I'm quickly going to Google it. Frank Miller Batman. It's Batman v Superman. Yeah, there it is. This is my T-shirt. Grandpa Batman. He's like in this world. He is like super old. Batman is, and he's retired. But Gotham has gone like straight into like even worse than ever. And he comes out of, he's in like his breakdown because Robin died, but he comes out of it again, and he's fighting, and he's slower, but he's still just as good, and he gets a new Robin. It's such a good comic series. If you haven't read that one, guys, check it out. Frank Miller's Batman. I think it's Batman versus Superman, if I recall correctly, and it's amazing. But
I'll have to check that out. I was never really super big into the comics, but I did happen to spy a copy of Batman Who Laughs when I was out and about not too long ago. I picked that up, and man, what a good read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to watch it too, there's a Batman versus Superman comic cartoon, which is based on the Frank Miller comic book. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. This is the voice actor for the Batman is the RoboCop actor, and it's not perfect. The comic is definitely better, but it's a 1.5 hour animated feature film, and you might enjoy that if you're not down with the reading of the comics there. But I saw 2 comments, guys, that bot related, but definitely we're circling back to. Luke Nowak alum said, "Who's to say the bots can't delegate staked SPS to each other?" That's interesting. I haven't properly maybe thought that one through. And then there was one more. Where was the other comment on SPS and bots? I lost the other one. Maybe I'll find it. But what do you guys think about that? Like, is that a big problem? Do we need to be worried about, well, they're just going to stake to each other. Maybe some owner, a central account will have some SPS that they've been earning even now, right? They're accumulating it even now. And then they get a SPS bag just through these last seasons, and then they can pass it around. Maybe they send it to the one bot for day 1 and then to a different bot day 2. I don't know. Is that going to be a concern for us?
I feel like that is something that's going to have to be answered within the mechanics of the SPS staking. And I'm sure that just like how there's an unstaking period, there would also have to be an unstaking period from it being staked on somebody else. Mm-hmm. So is it going to completely answer the problem and stop all bots on all bot farms? No. Is it going to hamper their ability to run thousands of accounts? Yes.
And HL49, thoughts on that?
I personally think they have to, delegation, they should do it like seasonal things. If you want to delegate some SPS, do it like a season. Like now we have season rentals. You can delegate some, you can do it, but only be able to get it for a season. Mm-hmm. Or just like small amounts that maybe you're missing, you can rent for 2 days or something.
Yeah.
But mostly I would focus on doing it for the season, because then you don't have to have it like every day. Oh man, my Lux is getting out. Why?
Yeah.
And
you're right.
I think
seasons
would be way easier than I think.
I think you're right. I think it almost has to be that way. And but so that's probably a solution. And also I saw another comment here. Chris West goes, the team could also add bots to the UI for players to pay the team 10% for their service. Yeah, why aren't we doing this? Like, I mean, we already, I guess they you know what? It goes against their vision for, see, here's the problem. Does this go against the vision that Splinterlands team proposes? They aren't anti-bot, they're just anti-exploit. But I also think they wouldn't really want to do this. But 1, it would be a revenue source for the team. 2, it would really open doors for, there are players who don't even understand that we have bots. And wouldn't it be helpful if those guys who lack the sort of the technical blockchain understanding or coding understanding to recognize that, hey, bots would be possible for Splinterlands. They've got to learn, they've got to hear about it through a video. They've got to explore it through like Discord. They've got to maybe download some software or end up, partying with, maybe it would just be simpler if they just gave it to us. And would that be a bad thing? What do you think there, Rick?
I feel like it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but it wouldn't really answer the problem necessarily either, because the other bots are probably going to be better. I mean, like Archmage, that's their focus, is building the best bot for the game. Splinterlands bot would never be able to compete with Archmage bot on a, proficiency basis, just like Splinterlands market can't compete with peak monsters, because that is the focus of Jarvie, is making that tool. It is not their focus for Splinterlands. Their focus is making the game, as it should be. And so the biggest argument I have against doing that is dev time. Like, we have a limited amount of dev time. We have more things that are more important and more pressing that need to be done. I don't want to be taking more time away from the devs to make something else that another company can just provide better.
So HL49, what do you think about something that comes to my mind? He's talking, the question is like, he's asking, what if the team just gave us a bot that we could use and we pay them a fee? And Rick's like, well, dev time, and like, it's not their forte. And my thought is, what if Splinterlands, I mean, we're way bigger than Archmage or Splex or whoever, you know what I mean? Like, let's buy them. Like, we have the money. Like, could we talk business partnership? What do you think, HL49? Maybe there's a path there. And would that be worth pursuing even?
Personally, I would think the best thing here to do, bots, we are not able to get them off the game. No way. If we try to get bots off the game, there are 100% some players that you may even cancel out too, because they play too much, they play too good, they do it too fast. To buy a bot, in my opinion, wouldn't be the solution, because you already have to think about it. Maybe to buy Archmage and to say the team, yes, but wouldn't the funds be better in evolving the gameplay, making the game more complicated in the higher leagues to remove the bots? That the bots is too hard to learn it. Or also, I don't know if you know that bot, but it's Splintermate. And Splintermate is basically a bot that you can rent it for $1 a month. But it wasn't able to get my second account out of bronze.
Yeah.
It was so bad. It's really a terrible bot to use. It's really cheap, but I think an X-bot, an Archmage, or even the bot from the Legendary Dragons is way better than this one. And if they want to do it cheap, and I don't think that would be an option to do, then a cheap bot is really competitive. And also, it would destroy the sense of the game, because you have a game, you have players, you want the players to play the game and not to buy a bot and to play the game for you. You know what I mean?
That's an important point. And we keep circling around that, because several of these conversations are around like what would be optimal. And I just have to keep saying it. I feel like there are different solutions to these complicated problems, but each of them has their unintended consequences. There's no perfect solutions. Complicated problems have, nuanced answers. And so, but I hear you. And, we want players to play this. We want humans to love this game. We don't want people to just, like you said earlier, Rick, like just be investors who come and throw money at this thing thinking it's going to moon. And then they have no passion for it. They have no love of the game, because they're not likely to be here, past a sales opportunity. They're here to make money maybe. And it's okay to want to make money. I actually think it's got all of it. I think the game offers a fun to play mechanic. And I also think it offers a financial opportunity. And to me, that's like this beautiful revolutionary balance in this like special thing. But so I don't know, man, it's difficult, because I do want investors. I do want players. And I am willing to, I guess, work with some less than optimal conditions, so that, because I feel as though there are no perfect or optimal solutions for some of these complicated problems. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to clarify a point, I'm not saying that, a player who is here to see a return on their investment is a bad thing. Like, obviously, that's why we're in Web3 gaming instead of Web2 gaming. Like, that it is part and parcel of what we do here. That's why it's play to earn, or play and earn, or whatever kind of title for the genre you want to settle on, because I know that is also an ongoing debate. and I don't really have a horse in that particular race.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, we are here for a return. When I say players versus investors, I mean people who are actually playing the game versus people who are just putting in some money and then not doing anything with it, who are not actually adding to the economy. All they're doing is just like buying something and then sitting on it and holding it and effectively removing it from circulation. And I mean, if that's, DEC or SPS, if it's tokens, whatever. But if you're removing cards from circulation, that's kind of problematic because there are already not enough cards once land comes out.
Yeah, man, that's exciting.
There's not even enough cards right now.
Dude, that's exciting. And let's shift into land a bit.
Cards. No, there's really not. There's too many single DCX cards. There's too many cards that have not been combined. But there are not enough cards to go around already.
I'm super excited that you said that. And actually, we talked before we went live. We put some notes on paper, and land was one of the topics. It feels like it's actually happening. And you just said something that really gets me fired up. Like, there's not nearly enough cards. And to hear Matt talk about that on the meeting, and then you read that post. I don't have access to it right now, and I don't know if I could find it quickly. But that post that they did, the write up, and they're like, potential for infinite staking, chasing after the Praetoria secret, and man, to me, this is so massive from a gameplay perspective, because it might mean, if it's as big as they're saying, it would likely mean a drying up of card assets, which would translate to price appreciation, which would translate to excitement and like word of mouth, which would translate to new players coming to the game. Not for the best reason. Like, you should want to be here for fun. But when we see FOMO, we often see growth in player base. And it's not maybe the people that are going to be here for years and years. It's probably just guys that are flash in the pan, to be honest. So I'm not saying that's great, but I'm saying it'll be exciting. I'm saying it'll be an opportunity for people who have been here for the last 2 years. I think if it works like it's being presented, if the cards are truly soaked up in the way that's being described and almost promised by the land, and if the land resources are that as desirable as is being presumed, because if the land resources don't matter, the cards won't go there to stake, and if they don't go to their stake, then the whole mechanic won't work. But if it works, it could just transform the game in such a massive way. HL49, do you own land? And what are your thoughts on this stuff?
Yeah, I own about 5 plots of land. I'm planning on buying 2 more that I have in total of 7 plots because I just like the number, I don't know. I think my deck is way too small to even be fully capable of using those 7 plots. I think I would need some other players that help me to cultivate that land to get all of the best possible rewards out there. I may try to get my guildmates helping out a little bit, although I think it's easier if you have a little community behind you that you can ask to help you, as of you do, for example.
Yeah.
You have some help in your land, even though you have a big collection. I think this even won't be enough. And I also think there can't ever be enough cards because you can ever get new ones and sell the old ones or do anything in the game. And I also I unfortunately have to go right now, so
okay.
I really thank you for the opportunity to be here.